All right, so welcome to our session on dance and carpets. And, I'd just like to start with a small thing that's always been on my mind. And that's, can you ever truly appreciate the efforts of someone's skill or someone's craft without actually being a part of it? And I didn't think that I could. So when I was about 21, I went to Kerala. And there I found a small Kathakali dance school. And you know what? Of course, the dancers didn't let me dance. But they did teach me eye exercises. And that was incredible. It takes your appreciation of that form to some other level. And similarly with carpets, there's a very, very sweet startup in Delhi called Go Rug Yourself. And it teaches you how to tuft carpets. And you take those guns and you try to tuft like a small 6-inch pattern. And that takes you like 3 hours. And it really instills in you a sense of the magic of the human heart and how it can push your body into this extraordinary amount of discipline. And I think India is so rich with, this sort of magic, and we need to know how we can capitalize more on it. So, Nishant, if I could start with you, there are quite a few carpets who have been receiving GI tags. Can you tell me a little bit about the implementation of GI tags and how that can be used to preserve authenticity? Because if we take it to a global stage, you need reliable quality.
Thank you very much for having me. It is a very relevant point because around the world, it's not limited to India, but around the world there is misrepresentation about products, about where the origin is and what materials go into it. There's a lot of now problem of machine-made carpets being propagated as handmade carpets. And even within handmade carpets, we as a country have a very rich resource of artisanal skill that has been passed down over decades, over centuries, through word of mouth, from father to son, from artisans, from mother to daughter. Whether it's in vegetable dyeing, whether it's in knotting, spinning. And it is very unfortunate when you travel through India, a lot of places where you will have some unscrupulous people, traders, shopkeepers, who are representing something as a handmade product, whether it is from Kashmir or from Banaras. And you find out that it's actually not so. So it takes a family possibly anywhere from 4 months to sometimes years to produce an exceptional work of art. But it's not just that limited time. It has been a process of evolution over generations where they have honed that skill. The kind of knotting that you can achieve in hand-knotted carpets in Kashmir is not possible anywhere in the world.
In fact, you were mentioning about the talim of Kashmiri carpets as well.
Yes, so there's a fascinating system where the weaver sits on the loom and you have to focus on a very small area because there's very meticulous attention to detail and you have to create an extremely delicate, detailed pattern. And there's somebody who sings out the pattern, which are codes for you to fill in thread of that color. Sometimes you can have 7 or 10 or 15 colors in a carpet.
And you're saying these can be misrepresented by sellers as well?
Not now, but you can.
And has the GI tag helped with that?
I don't think the uptake has been as encouraging as it could be, but that's also because the industry, the retailers haven't taken to it as right. Well.
Ashish, if I could come to you, the most surprising thing for me today has been to learn that Indian dance forms don't have GI tags. Certainly not as many as I thought that they would. I thought, the classical forms would definitely have GI tags by now. Why is that?
ओम सरस्वती नमः। मैं जो भी कहूँगा, सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं कहूँगा, so help me Lord. This is just to wake some of us up here. I know it is evening, we've had a long session and we've really grateful to both the department. I've had to learn this DP I square T and India Today for getting all of us for this brainstorming session, because it's been a learning curve for us from other fields also to have seen what has been the vast spectrum of knowledge has come our way. Why dance or Indian forms are not on GI tag? Actually, there are only three, of which one is a funeral rite in Uttarakhand, Bhotia. One is a mask from Purulia, your Bengal. And one is actually a doll from Tanjore in Tamil Nadu. I think one of the reasons is because the provenance cannot be established, because somebody could be performing Kuchipudi in Paris or in Boston, but the origin from the Kuchipudi village, it's actually a village in Andhra, now because of the division of the states too, that the provenance becomes an issue. Two, are they traditional or indigenous? What we often call folk forms are actually folk, tribal and ritual. Because some are only done for propitiation of, say, Bhadrakali for chicken pox in Kerala, like Tayyam. Or some are done only for harvesting season, like it could be Bihu or it could be any Bhangra or any of these celebratory for the agrarian cycle. So we have had, and overall canvas is Bollywood. I mean, to add, more masala to the chai, we have these forms which are a mishran of all of this. I think beyond dance, what happens is we have to think of the cultural canvas totally. Because we heard music, we thought of food today, we thought of painting, we thought of architecture, we have seen spaces. What happens to intangible, totally very, very transient art form, which cannot be even filmed? What you see on stage is there and then it is over. So to get a GI tag is a Herculean task. There are some of the masters here. I was talking to Unnat Panditji, I heard Ratnuji in the morning, and their concerns were valid because what they're saying is the cultural quotient is most important.
Right. Nishad, in terms of new promising candidates for GI tags in Indian carpets, are there some that you think deserve the tag and are ready for it?
I think it's a much more complicated question or a complicated issue, because carpet weaving was brought to India with Emperor Akbar in Mughal times. And if you look around, if you go to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London or the Metropolitan Museum in New York, if you look at their most prized exhibits, or if you look at auction figures, some of the world's finest carpets were actually woven in India, not in Iran, not in Turkey, not in China, which is what is normally associated with. But like some of the earlier speakers have spoken, that it has to be a concerted effort or initiative between industry, consumers, and the artisans. Because you can, the influences, whether it's design influence, colors, there's been a lot of exchange and intermingling over the last 350, 400 years of carpet weaving, whether it is in Iran, whether it's in India. And of course, the Mughal style was very distinctive and unique, but there's definitely a case for GI tags. India has a very vast repertoire of craft, whether it's textiles or carpets. So we should definitely try and work together on that.
So, as a cultural expert, you've been here since the morning, I think. And so what are your concerns about, all that we've discussed today?
I think PPP, policy, policy, policy. You see, the starting point, and this has been a lacuna in our last 75 years, that we've had policy for minerals, coals, mines, agriculture, but none for culture. And the reasons cited in the initial years of independence were that India is so large, and how can you have one policy, cultural that too, that encompasses all of India, with all its variety of languages, culture, cuisines, spaces. But I think policy does two things, or three. One, it gives a structure. Two, it gives substance. And three, it gives spunk. So unless there is a policy on culture, which many countries have, at least it's a working document of what to do. All the synergetic of different departments which we are talking of. This is not a standalone exercise. They should be repeated every month. I mean, whosoever does it, all ministries should come together because it is brand India. Forget the GI tag. GI tag is actually the best thing that happened to bring us together collectively on what is Indian. But what is Indian also needs to be discussed today in 2025. So all the ministries and all the corporate bodies, where is corporate India? Why do we have only the government responsible? The people, the stakeholders, I mean, the CSR is one way, but certainly a lot more corporate responsibility goes. Because somebody also mentioned, where is the social involvement? Ganesh Bhai said, जब तक अपना नहीं होगा, अपने घर पे नहीं होगा, तो हर घर का ये संदेश है कि आपको जो भी, मैं पंजाब का हूँ, मद्रास का हूँ, बंगाल का हूँ, गुजरात का हूँ, which I am. I'm born in PM's first constituency, Baroda, for 2 terms. My mother is Tamilian, my father is Sikh Punjabi. I was born and brought up in Bengal. So I am at home everywhere. My point is we have to be Indian first. The GI will work only if we are thinking of India in totality. It will also work if we are culturally conscious that this is ours. ये अपनी धरोहर है. एक अमूल का मॉडल तो था ही, मंथन का मॉडल था ही. ऐसी एक नहीं 1000 फिल्में बननी चाहिए क्योंकि आज भी हमें वो चीजें याद हैं. So it is important that culturally, I think if a policy is put in place, and we have sort of avoided it, saying that Amitabh was here in the morning, Niti Aayog ex-chairman, Niti is policy, so policy is the starting point. I think this is the right point in time when India is strong, it's resilient, it is global, it is a player, and many, many world forums. This is the time when we have to be proud of our culture. It's a very big term. We have divided into food or space or architecture or music or dance or painting or everything else. But culturally, we have to be one brand. That is our brand.
I'm really glad you talked about social involvement because, as I was researching on this session, I got a Zoom call from a niece of mine in New York. And she said, Masi, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm reading about carpets and dance. And she said, well, like, Toby's bed and Mamushi. Toby is her dog, and the only carpet she could think about was a faux-fur carpet. And Mamushi is a video by a very lovely lady called Cardi B. And that's her extent of knowledge. And, we did take some time to teach her a little bit about, Indian carpets and Indian dance heritage and so on. But I think that's important, right? If you're going to take it to a global level, how do you get the next generation excited about both carpets and dance? So maybe if you could talk a little about that.
So there's a very dangerous prospect of losing our craft. Of course, there is one aspect where not enough people know about what goes into craft, and the fact that in India we take for granted the fact that you can have somebody work by hand for a very large period of their life to create something. If you look at things that are handmade, if you go to get a bespoke suit tailored at Savile Row, or you go to Italy to have a suit made, it costs a fortune. If you look at a Swiss watch, and there are Rolex watches which are 8, 10, 15 lakhs, and I was surprised to know that there's a 10-year waiting to get one of those. But unfortunately here, not enough of us value the fact that something is done with such painstaking care over such a long time. And that is something very important for us to safeguard that skill which is passed down over generations, and also to encourage those people, because they can, it can be such a fulfilling thing for us.
So would you have something to add about from the dance perspective?
I think dancing on carpet is very difficult business. Most Kathak people at least would like to go in circles and they would not be able to perform. But that's not to discourage your business. It's very, very necessary because it pads up for those who don't have rhythm, so it covers it up. So everything has its advantages and disadvantages. Often people said, you've been a critic for 30 years, you're writing, you've done some books and things, but वैसे आप क्या करते हैं? You know, this is a question because when you work in the field of culture, and if you're doing all these things, then people say, ये सब तो ठीक है, लेकिन वैसे आप काम क्या करते हैं? You know, that is something only in India one is asked that. Because if you're in Italy, or if you're in Japan, or if you're in Botswana, or if you're in Mauritius, every work is work. So it is sometimes how much value or premium we as a society are putting on these things. You know, it is easy to talk and easy for a ministry and a government and a very, very evolved media group, the only one in India which has standard for 40, 50 years and is a reference point benchmark India today. It is very easy for them to collect some of us and speak about all these issues. But I think this is the something sensitization needed at school level, at college level, and when you grow. This is we are stakeholders. You know, when we talk of dharohar, all these big words and things, लेकिन वो रहेगा तभी रहेगा, जैसे किसी ने कहा कि रहेगा तभी तो बढ़ेगा, और बनेगा तभी तो बढ़ेगा. So it is very important we take these forward. Otherwise, sorry to say, visiting many universities and teaching and assessing, one sees millennials. I am the youngest in this hall. My birthday comes once in 4 years, so I'm only 16 and a half. So nothing against millennials. हाँ, तालियां बजाइए, दिल खोल के बजाइए. But, you know, millennials have a real disconnect with India and Indian culture. Because we are in a global digital world, because information is on our cell phone, because we think Google is guru, then what has happened is, I did a search this morning on GI. It says glucose index. How much you feed in your body, and this is a medical term. GI is not geographical index. Just search Google Guru now. So don't depend on Google Guru. The point is, millennials especially, we need to, because this will be telecast, we need to understand the reality of India today. There's a serious volume of young India. It is almost, I don't know the figures, but 60% of our population, which is under 28, is the median age. And whom are we addressing? So young India needs to be a stakeholder. All of us are responsible to bring them into the fold, and it is our duty to take them forward.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting point, but also it also offers a great opportunity, because today we are at a time where distances are not really distances, with advancements in technology, with your internet, with social media. So you actually, if we do it well, if we tell our story well, and somebody before us spoke about storytelling, brand building, and today around the world people are interested. We have a website. I'm amazed. We do not think that people would be buying carpets, expensive carpets on a website, and people do, from around the world. And it's a question of telling your story well, but it's also an opportunity with social media, with people being able to make, young people being able to make very compelling representations about craft and the wonderful work that happens in the country.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing everything you have. Thank you. Maybe some millennial will see this and get inspired. Thank you.
I think we finished before time. We are the only ones who finished.
24 seconds.